Do all animals really have the same bones? If we put a person next to a chimpanzee, we can see from the shoulder to the elbow, there's one bone, then two, then the wrist,
8 carpals,
then 5 fingers. We can see the spine, the femur, the tibia and fibula, and then some feet bones and 5 toes. Chimpanzees do have the same bones that we have. Maybe some are a bit shorter or a bit different shaped, but they're all there. What about a doggo? Ha! They're so different. They're on 4 legs basically all the time. Oh wait, hang on. Their arms and legs are just rotated, so they come towards the stomach of the animal. 1 bone from the hips, 2 bones after the knee, a long wrist, and they walk on their 5 little toes. What about that big tail? It's full of bones. Ha! Yes, I admit there's a few vertebrae after the dog's butt, but in human babies, there are 5 little bones that aren't fused, which make up the sacrum, and 4 to 5 bones which make up the coccyx, or tailbones. These fuse once we reach adulthood. Police can use the fact that these bones are not fused into adulthood to guess the age of a victim. So, dogs have more tailbones than us, but they still have a rib cage, backbone, arms and legs. Even their shoulder bones are the same as ours. What about this animal? It kind of looks like a dog with long fingers, doesn't it? Actually, it's a lion seal. The hands and feet have evolved to be webbed and paddle shaped for easier swimming. This one looks like a dog with tiny arms. Oh, it's a whale. This one looks like a dog with broken arms. It's a lizard. What about lungfish? They're an animal. Australian lungfish haven't changed much for 380 million years. Now you're probably wondering, how did you figure that out? Carbon dating can't get us back nearly far enough. There's a small amount of carbon-14 in the air, which has 2 extra protons than normal carbon-12. This carbon-14 is taken up by plants, which is then taken up by animals, which is then taken up by the animals that eat those animals, which is then taken up by the animals that eat those animals, which is then taken up by the animals that eat those animals, which is then taken up by the animals that eat those animals. These extra protons in the center or nucleus of the atom make the nucleus unstable. This extra nuclear energy has to get relieved somehow. The pressure in the nucleus gets released when carbon-14 expels an antineutrino and a neutron, turning the carbon-14 into nitrogen-14, which is more stable. This happens to half the carbon-14 every 5,730 years. So after 5,730 years, there's half the amount of carbon-14 left. Scientists can compare the amount of carbon-14 with the amount of carbon-12 to date things back 50,000 years. Anything older than that, we've got to use another element like uranium in the rocks around the fossil. Uranium is a really big atom with lots of protons and neutrons in the middle and a weak electric negative field around the outside of electrons to hold it all together. So this big atom likes to fall apart into 2 different atoms. That's fission. When this happens, a small amount of energy is released which scars the rocks nearby, and then that amount of scarring can be used to date something back millions of years. So, does the Australian lungfish have 5 fingers? Well, you'll have to use your imagination a little bit, but you can see the humerus and then what looks like lots of fingers coming out of the middle finger. So it starts to break down at this 380 million year mark. What about a shark? Well, they're animals according to scientists, but they don't even have bones. They have cartilage. What about insects? They don't even have a backbone. Their skeleton's on the outside. Well, humans' latest common ancestor with flies was a lot longer time ago than it was with sharks, which means that we're more closely related to sharks than flies. And we're a lot more closely related to the lungfish than to sharks. Our latest common ancestor with reptiles was only 320 million years ago. That's why we look so similar. How come seals look so much like dogs? Well, they're both part of the order Carnivora, as in carnivores. Their order and our order, primates, split millions of years before seals and dogs. Dogs and seals have a common ancestor from only about 50 million years ago. Carnivora that lived near the water maxed out their swimming skills, and those that went inland kept to walking. What happened to our tail? We still have it. Between days 31 and 35 in the womb, when you're a teeny little weeny baby, you can see the tail, and that turns into our coccyx. One theory goes that when we stopped climbing around in trees and started walking, we didn't need a tail anymore. Our close family members, orangutans and gibbons, don't need a tail. It would just be an extra appendage to feed. It would need calories. Also, they have their shoulders on their back, not on their side like monkeys. which makes walking upright easier. Maybe having a tail just gets in the way when you start to walk upright. So we evolved from plants? Are peanuts nuts? Well, I'll answer that next time.